MotoGP is entering a new era of revolutionary change. The technical regulations are being completely overhauled, new tire suppliers are replacing the old, and major innovations in aerodynamics and ride height systems are set to change the dynamics of the championship. Some have even called it the biggest reset in MotoGP history. Not everyone has welcomed the changes with enthusiasm, however. One of the most vocal critics is Marc Marquez, who has issued a serious warning about the future direction of MotoGP. Will these major changes take the championship to a better level, or will they threaten its very essence? Let's discuss. One of the most surprising changes is the end of Michelin's era as MotoGP's sole tire supplier after 2026. Pirelli, which has dominated World Superbike and is the supplier for Moto3 and Moto2, will take over this position. The announcement surprised many, including riders, engineers, and manufacturers. Miguel Oliveira, Pramac Yamaha rider, emphasized that of all the technical changes that can be made to a bike, changing tire suppliers is the biggest change. He believes the move is the only way to overturn Ducati's almost unassailable dominance of recent seasons. Luca Marini agrees, calling the tire change the most significant change for 2027, even bigger than the new engine regulations or the ban on rider height devices. But will the change really help struggling manufacturers like Honda and Yamaha? Not necessarily. Ducati have no experience with Pirelli tires in MotoGP, but they have been dominant in World Superbike, where they have long used Pirelli. Meanwhile, some riders feel that Michelin have done a great job and don't understand the reason for the change. Luca Marini even expressed his confusion, stating that the Michelin tires have been fine so far. Pedro Acosta, one of the young stars of MotoGP, has a different view. He has raced with Dunlop and Pirelli tires in the smaller classes and believes that Pirelli's performance in Moto2 and Moto3 has been a big improvement. However, MotoGP is a completely different challenge, and many are unsure if Pirelli can adapt quickly enough. The changes in the MotoGP world are not just in bike technology, but also in other key components such as tires. Currently, there are only 3 riders on the MotoGP grid with experience of a change of tire supplier, namely Marc Marquez, Maverick Vinales, and Jack Miller. The change of tire supplier from Michelin to Pirelli is one of the major changes that will affect the course of the competition. Maverick Vinales expressed his surprise at this decision, considering that Michelin has been the main supplier in recent years and has contributed greatly to the performance of the bike on the track. Jack Miller, on the other hand, was more surprised by the great responsibility that Pirelli now has to adapt to the high demands of MotoGP and the expectations of the riders. As one of the riders with experience of previous tire changes, Marc Marquez issued a stern warning. He recalled the transition from Bridgestone to Michelin, which he said was not an easy process. At the time, many riders had crashes that were difficult to explain. When Michelin first came, there were a lot of strange accidents. The riders didn't understand why they crashed, said Marquez, recalling the difficult moments he experienced. Marquez emphasized that such a major change always brings its own challenges, especially in terms of adapting to different tire characteristics. Each tire supplier has its own characteristics, both in terms of grip, durability, and response to different track conditions. As a result, he predicted that there would be many unexpected events for the riders to experience when Pirelli officially starts to be used in MotoGP. While acknowledging that Pirelli has the potential to provide high-quality tires, Marquez highlighted the possibility of unexpected consequences in this transition. He advised the teams and riders to prepare themselves as much as possible to understand the characteristics of the new tires and avoid unwanted incidents. In recognition of their commitment over the years, Marquez also expressed his gratitude to Michelin for being an important part of MotoGP through the provision of high-performance tires. For him, Michelin has made a huge contribution to the competitive, safe, and spectacular action-packed races on the track. The new regulations, which will come into force in 2027, will bring major changes to the MotoGP world, particularly in technical terms. One major change is the reduction in engine capacity. Whereas previously the engine capacity used in MotoGP competitions reached 1,000 cubic centimeters, from 2027 this capacity will be reduced to 850 cubic centimeters. This step has been taken with the main objective of reducing the speed of the motorcycle in order to improve the safety of the riders on the track. With this reduction in engine capacity, it is hoped that riders will have better control over the bike, thus minimizing the risk of accidents. The aerodynamic aspect will also be severely restricted. The new regulations will reduce the use of front wings, which have been an important element in improving motorcycle performance. All aerodynamic parts fitted to the rear of the bike will also have to be approved before they can be used in official races. This is to ensure that any aerodynamic changes do not give too much of an advantage to certain teams, so that competition remains fair and balanced. Another significant change is the prohibition of the ride height system and the whole shot device. These systems were previously used to improve the stability of the bike when entering and exiting corners. With the ban of these devices, riders will have to rely more on their own riding ability without the help of additional technology. This ban was imposed with the aim of keeping the competitive aspect of MotoGP balanced and not overly reliant on technology. In addition to changes in driving technology, the new regulations will also have an impact on vehicle weight. The minimum motorcycle weight will be reduced from 157 kilograms to 153 kilograms. This reduction is intended to increase the bike's agility on track and to present the team with new challenges in terms of design and the efficiency of the materials used. Another aspect that will change is the fuel tank capacity. For full races, the capacity will be reduced from 22 to 20 liters, while for sprint races, the capacity will be reduced from 12 to 11 liters. This step has been taken to encourage more efficient use of fuel, so that race strategy will play an increasingly important role in determining victory. The new regulations will also limit the number of engines each team can use in a season. Where previously drivers were allowed to use 7 engines in a 20-race season, from 2027 the number of engines that can be used will be reduced to 6. Meanwhile, for seasons with more than 21 races, the number of engines will be reduced from 9 to 7. This reduction in the number of engines is intended to reduce the team's operating costs and increase the durability of the engines used throughout the season. The main goal of this regulation is to create a more balanced competition, to slow down the bikes for safety reasons and to make the championship more competitive. However, not all riders are convinced that this is the right move. Johann Zarco, for example, thinks the change is too drastic. He would prefer to see either the tires or the technical regulations changed, not both at the same time. One of the biggest effects of this change is the impact on struggling manufacturers. The concession system, which gives less competitive manufacturers more development flexibility, will remain. However, in 2027 all manufacturers will start the season with a B-level rating, which limits their engine development. This means that Honda and Yamaha will not have the development advantage they currently enjoy. They will have to develop their 850 cubic centimeters engines under the same rules as Ducati, Aprilia and KTM. On the other hand, new manufacturers will benefit. When a manufacturer enters MotoGP for the first time, they will have more flexibility in testing, 6 wildcard entries and access to 260 test tires. This could be a great opportunity for a new brand to come in and challenge the established giants. MotoGP 2027 is a big gamble. Will the change in tire supplier create a more level playing field, or will it create more problems? Will the reduction in engine capacity slow the bikes down enough for safety, and who will adapt the quickest? Write in with your thoughts.